Awesome. All right, guys, welcome to Summit. I'm Scott Northway, Vice President for Programs here at Summit Ministries. Super glad that you're here for our parent orientation. Purpose of tonight is really just to give you a little bit of overview of Summit Ministries, who we are, what we're about, and hopefully your students will be able to share with you why they were here and why they chose to stay here at Summit. So super excited to be here with you. Let me share a little bit about my background. Spent some time in the Army as an airborne ranger. My wife and I have been married for 25 years, my wife Debbie. I've got two boys. Joshua is 21. He is a student at UCCS here locally in Colorado Springs. Wants to be a physical therapy major. My younger son, Matt, just finished high school, and Matthew is going to go into construction management. He is going to be throwing discus and hammer and shot put for the NCAA Division II at Fort Hays State University. Super excited that I get to have excuses to get away from work and go there and watch him compete. So that's pretty awesome. Coaching over 27 years, youth ministry over 25 years. Really love building into the hearts of the younger generation. It really is about that biblical worldview, but for the longest time, I was mostly focused on evangelism and discipleship. Very challenging. Then you move into, okay, high school students going into college or going into trade school, the military. Can you actually defend your faith? Wow, would not believe how many of them could not do that. So they were easily swayed by a professor in a philosophy 101 class, psychology, sociology, that sort of thing, or just talk around the water cooler. So trying to avoid that, in comes Summit Ministries. I've been here for a couple of months. Absolutely love being a part of the program team here. My responsibility is simply to coach, educate, and train the team to be able to fill the seats in these classrooms. We've got 3 locations here in Colorado, California as well at Biola University, Tennessee at Bryan College. We're going to be doing 10 sessions this summer. Right now we're somewhere around 1,766, 1,767 students that are going to be participating with us this summer. Those are warriors that are going out into the battlefield, out in the marketplace, out in the school systems. I'm super excited they're going to be on campus. So thank you so much for entrusting us with your sons and with your daughters. Any grandparents here? Aunts, uncles? Okay, awesome. So even more responsibility there, right? Just in terms of making sure that we're instilling the biblical worldview into the hearts of the next generation. I've been in the business world, been in ministry. I ran a nonprofit organization called Compass. We did father-son, father-daughter retreats, really enjoyed doing that, coaching dads, building into the younger generation. It's funny to me that most of us guys, we're kind of awkward when you get around other guys to try to have conversations. So trying to get dads to learn how to really communicate with their sons and daughters was a little bit of a challenge. But then when we opened up to experiential learning, we'll talk a little bit about that tonight, all of a sudden they opened up just like a Vidalia onion. If you're going to Texas Roadhouse, you're able to grab that. It's good stuff. Am I even allowed to promote that? I just did. That's awesome. Okay, so let's move forward here. In terms of Summit Ministries, and we'll just go through the screen here, over 55 years is what we're looking at in terms of building biblical worldview principles into the hearts and minds of the younger generation. I love this phrase that's in quotes here, ideas have consequences. Ideas have consequences. Think about the questions that you've had in your mind. What do you believe to be true? Is Christianity valid? Do you know how to defend your faith? Here's a big one for you. How many of you knew this when you were teenagers? What is God's plan for my life? I don't know. I'm a junior in high school. I don't know. I'm just trying to do the best I can with school, sports, grades, all that kind of stuff, right? But for the kids, it's a big deal. Who am I? What is my identity? What is my story? What legacy will you leave behind? Now, you're thinking that, right? Because your parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles, that's why you've got your kids here. Hopefully, that's part of the reason, okay? But in terms of their identity and the legacy that they're going to leave, most high school students that I work with, I also work with Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I deal with 150 plus students every Monday. They're not really sure too much about identity. It's not a big piece of their thought process to really knowing who they are and what they're about. The legacy that they're going to leave, and they will leave one, is it going to be one that's grounded in a biblical worldview? hopefully, with a combination of us working together, tag teaming, you hit them high, we hit them low, with the biblical worldview, we have a greater chance of being successful. But over 70% of the students, what do? What do they do once they leave high school? And this is an all play. You guys can interact. What do? They leave their faith. They walk away from the church. The cookies and juice are not as good as they used to be. The felt boards are pretty much dead. The conversations aren't very relevant. And we're having this problem with intergenerational connectivity, right? I mean, you see it in the churches. All right. I love videos. I'm going to show this video for you, and I want you to just focus in on your current son or your current daughter. If you have a son, just work with me a little bit.
What? I'm engaged. I'm engaged. I'm getting married.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, my. Oh, my. And that's your engagement ring, huh?
Yes. We got it at a flea market outside of Rome. The guy we bought it from said it was at least 100 years old.
Wow.
So, Dad, stop it. Say something.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Dad, I met a man in Rome, and he's wonderful and brilliant, and we're getting married.
Mom, what's he doing?
George.
How many of you can relate to that? I mean, it's tough, right? Time flew by so quickly. They were like this little. And then all of a sudden, boom, they're getting ready to go to college, military, trade school, go into the professional workforce. It's pretty crazy. But the relationship piece is what we focus on as parents and grandparents, right? Aunts and uncles. We're looking to instill truth into the hearts and minds of our family, and we want to do it in a real, radical, relevant, and relational way. That's most important. So this is what we like to do. This is a DNA double helix here. Truth and relationship, a little TNR. Okay? Truth and relationship. But does that always happen in the real world? No. What happens? What happens if relationship is replaced by arrogance and all you have is truth? Is that inviting? You can respond. No, it's not. What about the other way? We got relationship, but what do we have? We got a lot of apathy going on. There is no truth. How frustrating can that be? Very frustrating. Absolutely. Thank you for playing. Awesome. All right, so here's what we're looking at Summit Ministries, truth and relationship. This is where the focus is. This is where we're going. Here's the key piece that I want you to learn from our experience tonight, is that it's not just about the head knowledge. It's not just about the relationship. It's about knowing how to communicate and take what you've learned and pass that on to others. You've heard about disciples, making disciples, right? Okay? What's the best indicator of a great coach? Does the coach yell at the players? No, he doesn't. Does he always point out the weaknesses of the player? Absolutely not. You try to focus on a couple of key strengths, and maybe there's one area for improvement. There's a challenge area that we need to work on. I never call it a weakness. It's just an unrealized talent that God has yet to expose in your abilities. But from a relationship standpoint, where are we before we come to Summit? Where are your kids? This gets into the whole piece of why the heck did you send them to Summit Ministries for 12 days? Why did you invest the dollars that you did to have your kids come to Summit and to be under over 60 hours of teaching by some world-known faculty members and connect with people they probably never even met before and would think that, my gosh, I really want to experience that, Mom and Dad. Thank you so much for sending me away from all my friends, putting me in a classroom for 12 days, learning all about biblical worldview. I don't even know what biblical worldview is, but you're sending me there. So just share with me. Why did you guys send your kids to Summit? I'm super excited that you did, but share with myself and the others here, why did you send them? Yes? Nice. So basically making their faith their own, building that faith on solid rock. That's awesome. How many of you feel like your kids initially before they came here, they were pulling the ticket that said, okay, I'm going to church, I'm studying the word, I'm going to worship, and I'm praying because mom and dad said so, or because mom and dad are doing it? Okay? Yes, in the back. Excellent. We're on the right track. Yes, any other comments? Why you sent your kids here? Ooh, as did Dr. David Noble. Ouch. Yes, in the back. Sure. That's tough from going from your parents' foundation to all of a sudden you got to have your own foundation, right? And the ice that I'm looking at beneath me, I'm seeing cracks. Okay, what do I do? Friends, will you rescue me? Yes. Sure. That's great. That's great. That's truth and relationship played out. Yes. That's great. So connecting like-hearted and like-minded individuals. I'm telling my boys that. I'm like, you want to find a future spouse? Hey, Summit might be the place to go. It is so hard, even in youth group, right, to try to find someone that has the same values and principles that you do. Yes, ma'am. Sure. That's great. Grounding's important. It's even more important, and it's easier to receive when you look around the room and there's 180 plus other guys and gals that are in here wanting the same thing, or at least they want the same thing through their parents initially, but then they want it once they're getting close to the end and they don't want to leave here. Yes, ma'am.
Our daughter has a vibrant faith, but I wanted her to be able to communicate it in a way.
Ooh,
Find a purpose and an application in this world so that she can make a difference.
that's awesome. I always tell my students, hey, live your faith out loud. Don't be a weak Christian. What does the word tell us about being lukewarm? Spit you out. Yes, ma'am. Excellent. That's awesome. That's great. I can't tell you how many times going through Ranger School that I wanted to quit. I wanted to give up, but I didn't do it. I kept striving forward. I didn't quit, didn't give up. Ended up doing recon later on. Hindsight being 2020, it was totally God that brought me through that whole thing. But there's that point of awareness that we need to come to, right? This next clip I'm going to share with you is from the same movie, Father of the Bride, but we watch his daughter go from when she was like really tiny little to when she's a grown woman that's just got proposed to. But I want you to think about your own child, your son, your daughter in terms of the amount of time that you have invested in conversations and just doing things with them and continuing to be their coach, their life mentor, their daddy, their mommy. That's a big deal. I went from being a dad to now I'm a coach and a mentor. I'm kind of like a consultant for my boys. It's really kind of weird because they don't pay me. So that part of it's different. But the part that I remember consistently, and I'm always asking myself this question, did I do enough of the right things so that when they do go their own way, they're going to be able to live out Romans 12:2. They're going to focus on being transformed by the renewing of their minds. And that's not something that I can do as a parent, right? You graduate from high school. For some of you, Summit was a graduation present. Great job. But they're going to be on their own. But think back to when your kid was little and now where they are today. One more time.
How many times do you think we played out here?
About 1,000.
I remember our very first game.
Me too.
I remember you were 4. You had a red ribbon tied in your hair.
Dad! One time I can dribble once.
That's my girl. That's my girl.
Andrew, we should have brought Kleenex. I love this scene, right? Because it really is about the relationship. It's truth that the dad is trying to instill into the heart of his daughter, and he's doing it with relationship right alongside it. And I love the last shot there, not because she made it, but because it was in slow-mo. Think about how many times I worked with my boys on teaching them how to do a jump shot. And just the process, going step by step, just like you've done with your sons and daughters through a lot of different activities in life. It's a process. It's a journey. It's a marathon, right? It's not a sprint, even though some of you probably have track stars that are sprinters. But it really is thinking about the conditioning, the training, the hard work, the effort that we put into parenting our young sons and daughters. It's a lot of work. You don't get paid squat, but that's okay. God's got a reason and a purpose for him giving you every child that is a part of your family. And you have a huge privilege and responsibility, right? To train them up the way they should go. And when they finally get out of the house and stop eating all my food, and my water bill and my electric bill suddenly decrease, sometimes by as much as 20%, what's going to happen? What way will they go? I really believe that by investing in the hearts and minds of your sons and daughters to have them come here to Summit really made a difference because of two things. One, they're getting top-notch education from world-known faculty members, and then from a relationship standpoint, they're able to connect with some really cool kiddos, some really cool students from all over the country. And to do that where it's like the work hard, play hard thing, I focus on knowing what I'm going to be doing while I'm playing so that I'm ready to really press it on the relationship side of it when I'm learning things. If you guys would, open up your packets. It's time to get kinetic here a little bit. If you open up your packets, you'll see a schedule. Looks something like that, which you can't read, but that's why we have a hard copy for you here. What I really wanted to point out for you, and again, this is something where as you go home with your son or daughter, whether you're driving or flying, resist the temptation. Resist the temptation. So, how did it go? What did you do? Who did you meet? What were the faculty like? What sort of topics did you talk about? Did you have any unanswered questions? Did you really meet the person that you felt you could have a strong relationship with? Are you planning to go to the school that they're going to now? What did you really enjoy doing during free time? Did you get any sleep? Guess what? They're probably going to be passed out sleeping in the back seat of your car or in the airplane seat right next to you, resting. So, my advice to you, allow them the opportunity to rest a little bit and then basically allow them. So, tell me about your experience. What were some of the highlights? What were some of the key takeaways for you? The neat thing about giving you all these tools and resources, and that's basically what this is a resource packet, so you know where to frame your questions from. So you can see on the schedule here, you've got 12 pretty intense days. They did get breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That much I know. They did sleep a little bit. That much I know. They got to get under the tutelage of some pretty amazing faculty. Dr. Myers, Brett Kunkel. Gosh, there's a ton of them. You can look at all the names on there. Just amazing. But then look at some of the other things that aren't focused on topics with faculty. Sports time, free time, going to Garden of the Gods, going to the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, laser tag, free time. And then at the very bottom, very important, the truth and relationship part when it comes alive, because you're looking at small group time. I love small group time because then you're able to take everything that I learned from the faculty member, then we go into an open forum, and we sit out here on the front porch at Summit, and we get to ask questions, or I'm not going to ask the question, but I know a student that will ask the question because I talked to them about it, and so they asked the question for me. And I'm super excited about that, but then my heart and my mind start wrestling with these topics and these things that we're talking about, and then I get to go to small group time and break down even further these different topics. I came here with a lot of questions. Hopefully, you got the answers you were looking for. Hopefully, they're going to go away with you having even more questions. Maybe they want to come back for a second time. Maybe they want to go to Summit Semester where they get a 90-day experience down in Pagosa Springs to really drill down into it. Or maybe they get to be a part of some new stuff that we're doing from a conference perspective. But the neat thing is that in that small group time, that's where they learn new skills and new experiences of how to ask really good questions, how not to interrupt, and how to get someone to elaborate or explain further their point or what they're trying to talk about. And that's important because they're going to take that skill and they're going to play that out with you. You're going to have that opportunity to be a part of their small group, which is really exciting. But then, think about this. Then they're going to get to their friend groups, and they're going to have that opportunity as well. They're walking out of here with a really thick notebook with a lot of great material. I call it something stuff because there's something in there that I'm going to need to recall, and I'm going to have to go back to my Summit book of stuff and pull that out and figure out what that something is. All right, so that's your schedule. Summit Alumni Network. I love that we do this because it really is about being one of the family. And you'll see this played out during graduation tonight. For some of them, this is bigger than their high school graduation. They probably won't be receiving any cards or checks or gifts, but they're going to be really receiving a strong network to step into. How many times have you gone to college and you didn't have any friends to connect with? Or you weren't sure of the people that you're going to be networking with? I was one of them. I didn't have a single friend that I went to school with. What I love about the Alumni Network is that your students have a chance to become a part of over 55 years of students that have been through Summit. So there's information on there to be able to go through. If you look in your packet again, there's this Summit Alumni Network book. It's kind of the light colors with the blue, the mountains and the grass. Although actually our grass is kind of green right now in Colorado because we've gotten a little bit of rain. If you'd open that up, it focuses on think, hope, and live. And really thinking about the tough questions. We need to make sure that we ask that. What is our true calling? What are we hoping for? And then really focus more on, hey, knowing that we're living for something that's true. We're not alone in the battle. You look at our Summit Forum, there's an opportunity there. Basically, your students can go onto this website and be able to continue to watch, learn about topics and watch videos from world-class leaders, which I absolutely loved, about all different types of topics. And again, if they've got some of those questions that were answered, but maybe they forgot the answer, they still have some questions that came up that are new, they can go check out the forum. They can also connect with their fellow alumni. If you switch over to number 4 in your packet, then we're focused on Career Direct. Career Direct, I love this because I didn't get this. My assessment test told me I should be a truck driver. Okay, truthful, how many of you said you were supposed to be truck drivers? Nobody wants to raise their one? All right, cool, awesome. There's nothing bad about being a truck driver, but I felt deflated because it only pointed to one thing. What Career Direct does is it basically is an assessment process where you do get to have exposure to a counselor. You go through an assessment and you actually look at how do we connect the heart and the mind and the hands in terms of how has God wired me? How am I gifted? What does God have for me? This helps them go through the process of being able to figure that out. And you can find out more information about the website. A lot of the stuff I'm going to go through quickly, I just want to make sure that you have these resources in your hand. We're even working on putting together additional resources for you in the future that is going to be focused on things outside of what we do at Summit. I was also brought on board here to develop unique partnerships with other nonprofit organizations. I understand that we can't do everything by ourselves, but it's important to have a battle buddy alongside with you, right? I mean, just look to your right or look to your left, depending on how you're sitting. Look at your spouse, right? There's your battle buddy, okay? Additional resource to make it through. All right, so, and then if you flip over again to the next page, let's see, the Summit Reps interns, just look over there. I love this because it's an opportunity for students who are passionate about their Summit experience to become what's known as right now a rep, but this individual is someone who is a champion, a cheerleader in their high school, in their college, to promote Summit Ministries, to bring like-hearted, like-minded students to come to receive training here at Summit. Why is that important? If you look at on the campuses of today, just out of curiosity, how many of your students are going to secular campus or secular trade school? Okay, almost half of you guys. Okay, here's the thing. With what we're going for, we've got to make sure that we've got the right tools and resources with us. And if we can bring fellow battle buddies with us to go to that university or that college, that's a pretty cool thing. And you could build from there. I've seen alumni from Summit go on to college campuses and plug into and revitalize Christian organizations that are already there, or start one. Start a Bible study in their dorm room. Do something that's really unconventional and break open the Word in the lunchroom and have a couple other students there with you. It's pretty cool. But even neater is to see them go out on campus where everyone else is hanging out, and you just do life on life. You just do relationship. You live your faith out loud, like I always tell students, in terms of you want to be the real deal, you want to be a Christian that's on fire for God, then live your life like Jesus did. Who did he go hang out with? It's not a trick question. Yeah, I mean, he roamed about. He wasn't a hermit. He didn't stay in a cave. He went out and loved on people, connected with people, brought truth and relationship to the table. That's what we want you to do in Summit. That's what I want the kids to do in college or trade school or military. I'm sure you do too. All right, Summit Forum. Another opportunity for the kids to get connected and plugged in. I think this is a great resource as well. Career Direct, we talked about. Podcasts. Podcasts are another great resource. There's so many great resources that Summit provides that help with the next steps. You got to be asking yourself the question, I wonder if they're different. I wonder if they've changed. When will we notice the difference? They've been sleeping for 72 hours. They're processing it. No, but really think about it. When are they going to make a difference, right? This is a great way to stay connected. Just like in academics or athletics, what do you constantly need to be doing? You need to be practicing. You need to continue to do the reps. You need to continue to review. You need to continue to connect with other people to challenge you in your thinking. Our Summit Worldview Library, I think we're running for $80. You're getting this whole curriculum here. I used to be in sales. I love this because it's more relational. But here's the cool thing. Watching students get a hold of curriculum that really matters to them, because this talks about, look at our faith, look at the times that we live in, and look at the culture. They experience that all in one, like a landslide when they step on the college campus. Wouldn't it be great if they had some tools and resources to be able to go to? So in addition to their Summit experience, and these are referenced frequently throughout their 12 days here, they've got the Summit Worldview Library. Summit Talks, this is basically like, it's less than $6 a month to do this. The first month is free. What I love about this is they can continue to put the right things into their hearts and their minds. How many of you guys listen to audio, books on audio? I still have some of my books on cassette because they're that good, and I'm too cheap to buy another one. But I mean, you listen to them, right? How many times do you listen to them more than once? Quite a few, right? They were that good. The lecturer was that boring that I wanted to hear it again. I needed something to put me to sleep. No, it's because you wanted to refresh your heart and renew your mind. New resource that's coming up here sometime in August from Dr. Jeff Myers. I love this because it has a video series that comes with it, and as you could tell from showing the 2 video clips before, I like videos. I love illustrating the point. What's great about this is that Dr. Jeff focuses on the secret battle of ideas about God. And I love it that he weaves his personal story throughout. So resources that we're putting out there in the church, and then resources that we're making available to students as well. This is basically Summit Conference on vitamins. I don't want to say steroids because I'm a coach. I don't like steroids. But this is really like the vitamin version of getting away, limited cell phone reception, internet connectivity. But if you're really looking for, hey, let's go the extra mile. Maybe your student's looking for a gap year. How many of your students know what they want to do going into college their first year? Usually it's about somewhere between 40 to 50%, depending on what part of the country you're in. Are they getting internship experiences? Are they having someone challenge their thinking? Are they equipping themselves with the right things? This is the next step. I often look at this as a great gap year experience because not only are you talking with like-minded and like-hearted students, just like you have here at the Summit Conference, but you're able to really focus one-on-one with some of the professors for an extended period of time. I mean, you're hanging out for 90 days. 90 days you can either develop friends or you can develop enemies. Oftentimes our enemies become our friends, especially in this context. But a great experience to focus on. That's pretty much it on the presentation. I do want to point a couple of other items out to you. There's a letter in there from Aaron, our Vice President of Advancement. There's a gold 4x4 brochure in here. I love this resource because this is something that you could literally put in the hands of another parent and just say, just read this. Listen to the stories of my daughter or my son, but take this home and read it. They can go to the website. We're getting ready to have future dates out there for 2018, 19, and 20. We want to get that into the hands of the parents. We want to make sure that we could get faculty members that we typically can't get because they will book out 2 to 3 years in advance. We want to be able to do the same. It's easy to read. It's easy to understand. And then, as it says on the front of it, faith for life. I want my boys to be grounded in the Word. I don't want them to walk away from their faith. I had one of my FCA students, a leader, president of his class, amazing young man, within the period of 4 hours, he thought he totally ruined his life because he made some bad decisions. He wasn't well grounded. You are who you are when you're alone, but people know who you are when you're with them, and you make decisions that are different than what they're used to seeing or hearing about you. And that was one of the hardest things for me to swallow, is that I was not only the student's coach in sports, but I was his FCA leader. I was like a second dad to this student. And it was really hard for me to experience that with him, but at the same time, I was very quick to be grace-oriented. And another thing that I love about Summit here is that it's focused on understanding the biblical worldview, not from a defensive standpoint, oh, I can't wait to pull out my samurai sword and slash this liberal all up with their thinking and ideology. It's crazy. No, it's really about in grace and love. How do we love on people? What did Jesus do, right? Did the same thing. So with this student, I invested time basically in helping them to understand, hey, yeah, what you did was wrong. It's hurtful. It's painful. But the real deal is Jesus still loves you. His love for you did not change. But what I want to do is I want to get you plugged in with Summit so that you can be prepared for the battle. I wasn't good enough at getting you battle ready because of the amount of distractions and things that you had going on in your life. Youth pastors, they don't get that much time with your students. Coaches get a little bit more. Who gets the most time with your students? Yeah, you guys do. The parents do. But with all the youth pastors that I'm meeting with across the country, here's what they tell me. The parents are coming to us and they're saying, we're ill-equipped. We're ill-equipped as parents. So how's Summit going to respond? Rather than be reactive, we're going to focus on being proactive and preventative. So we're working on developing different conference experiences to where it's not only the adult conference that we currently do right now, we're looking on things that are more age appropriate for those in 20s and 30s and 40s. We're looking at additional things that we could do for men only, things that we could do for women only, to basically equip them so they don't come to us and share the story that I shared with you about one of my fellow student leaders. I watched this great godly young woman or great godly young man who I walked with for so long to stumble and fall. And not just stumble and fall, but feel that they were so worthless because they failed, that they would never be accepted. Their identity was destroyed. They felt that they were worthless. They had no value. Their story was no longer perfect. It was tainted. But again, if you combine truth with relationship, what do you have? What sort of weapons do you have at your disposal? When you understand why Christianity is valid, why you understand the importance of the Bible and knowing that it's true, knowing the history of Jesus, knowing how to respond to students when they talk about transgender, why marriage is only between one man and one woman. It's tough for me to hear the questions that I hear from the students. And they go home and they talk to their parents, and I talk with their parents. And their parents are oftentimes saying, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I tell them, the parents, you know what? I don't know that Summit's really the answer, but you know what? To get kids into a place, an environment where they could be with other students that really care about their faith, that really care about leaving a godly legacy, and that want to equip their hearts and their minds to be able to defend the enemy when they get out there in the real world, that's what I want to pull people into. And we want to continue to build experiences and programs and the publishing team to create resources that really do provide value. I love comics. I love Batman. He's got his utility belt. Andrew, we need to have a Summit utility belt. That would be awesome if we had all kinds of things that we could have here and pull out my bat boomerang. That would be awesome. But for your students to be able to take the experiences and the resources that they have at Summit, not just from the 12-day, the things we covered, the things that are in your packet today, the alumni network, being able to continually be fed by like-minded and like-hearted students. I'm so thankful that you allowed your grandson, your granddaughter, your son or your daughter to come and hang out with us for 12 days at Summit Ministries. It's an awesome, awesome privilege and responsibility to raise the next generation. I'm committed to 100% of what I do, work and volunteer and ministry. It's all about impacting the younger generation. But I want to make sure that we do it in the right way. I want to make sure that we really instill into the hearts and minds of the younger generation the things that are going to help them when they come up against the enemy. Spiritual warfare is real. Don't let someone tell you that it's not. It's real. You only have to get into the technology of today. I mean, this generation has grown up with cell phones. We didn't, right? I was telling my son the other day, I remember when the first DVD came out, the first cassette. What the heck's that? I remember the 8-track. That was phenomenal. Took up a ton of room, but I loved it. I remember vinyl records. I remember when my dad had to pull off on the side of the road and put a dime in a telephone that was a phone booth, and maybe there was an actual book that was down below there, because you couldn't just pull out your cell phone and make a call. Probably safer driving back then, I don't know. And then it was a quarter. Went from a dime to a quarter and making those cell phone calls. Now those things are gone. Technology has changed. Communication is key. It's even more important now, more than ever, for students to know how to develop and maintain and sustain relationships that matter. Summit wants to partner with you in the long run to make sure that that happens. I tell the students, hey, we want you to be a part of Summit for life. It's faith for life. We want Summit to be a part of who you are, what you do, and what you're about. So the generations from today to later on will be able to experience what they've been experiencing here today. We got dinner in 2 minutes. I'm super excited that you're here. Thank you so much again for your time. Love you guys. You guys are awesome. Thanks for being here at Summit.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the Summit, Colorado 2017 Session 3 graduation. That's worth cheering for. For those of you joining us via the live stream on YouTube, welcome. Friends and family in the back and down in the lobby watching, we're very glad you're here. And students, friends, it's been a good run. In this room, we've dropped a lot of binders. The last count that I knew was 57. So you guys are averaging just under 5 a day, in case you're interested. We've sung a lot of verses of Amazing Grace. We've lost a lot of hours of sleep. Well, there were 1 or 2 of you that tried to make up for those in here. And we had adventures together. You did a lot of listening in here and a lot of talking in small groups. We've covered topics from abortion to the existence of God, politics, communism, ethics, sexuality, and gender. We've been all over the place, covered morality. We've studied what worldviews are, and then looked into a lot of different worldviews. You've shared stories and hopes with each other. Learn to ask better questions and to give gracious answers. Together, you've debated and laughed. You've eaten meals together, and you've heard Dish Pit yelling. You've gone to the park and to events, and you've seen Kellen's bus driver hat. That's right. And we hope you guys keep doing these things as you head out from here. Yeah, going on adventures and singing too loud off keys, you drive down the road. Yeah, keep doing those things when appropriate. But what I really hope you guys keep doing is that you keep learning. You keep thinking deeply about the things of life. And you keep growing. I hope you've been changed in this place. I have. And I'm really grateful for you guys. I hope that you've come to know God more and that it sets you on a path that is going to continue to lead you into a greater knowledge of the Holy One. So before I turn things over and we continue on with this graduation ceremony, I was wondering if you guys would be willing to join me one more time for our morning traditions. Well, let me give a word of explanation because we do have a lot of guests here. Our morning traditions, we always start with a pledge to the flag, and then from there we collectively cough and sing a verse of Amazing Grace, and we do this every morning. And you guys, students, don't know the reason behind the cough. Our founder, Doc Noble, had a son named Brent. And towards the end of his life, he actually went blind. And he would still come up here every morning and lead the morning traditions. But in his blindness, his hearing became extremely acute. So much so that he was kind of bothered by people's groggy morning voices. And so he started this tradition that after a count of 3, everyone would cough, clear their throats, so that we could sing more pleasantly together. So now that we all know the story behind the cough, at least, please join me in our morning traditions. Turn to the flag. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now, that 3 count I talked about. 3, 2, 1. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I was blind, but now I see. Thanks, guys. Go ahead and grab seats for me. I just recently heard an amazing short story about just an allegory of the Christian life, about being lost and then being found by Christ, and it's such a wonderful reminder. Now, the next thing we want to do this evening is hear from just a couple of your peers. Every session we ask a guy and a girl student to come up and share some thoughts, share some reflections on how Summit has influenced them. And so tonight you'll be hearing from Jenny Sorensen and Sam Mooney. But in the spirit of ladies first, Jenny, would you come up here?
Good evening, fellow students of Summit, and parents, grandparents, everyone who is tied to these people in this room. I just want to say what a wonderful experience it has been here to be with all of you. God has gathered all of us students from all over the United States, from under the United States. There's people in Mexico. There's people above the United States, from Canada. See you. Even across the sea, I think somebody from the Netherlands. Yes. And, you know, we heard from him, and he taught us about the concept of diversity and unity. That was something that was really wonderful to be here with you students from every part, how unique and special you are, and how I was able to learn a lot about the United States and see how much I didn't know. Y'all taught me a lot. Also, thing about diversity and unity is that it's where all 4 roommates can help you write your speech. Here at Summit, I was challenged very much so, which is what I was praying for, and God answered my prayer. I was challenged intellectually with learning about logic and the ways that you use that. I learned how to ask good questions, how to ask respectful questions, how to ask questions with the intent of understanding better the person I was talking to. And also questions like, what is reality? Like, am I actually giving this speech right now, or is this the nightmare of the night before I give the speech? Yeah, from the looks, this is probably a nightmare. Oh, you guys are good. I also learned, I was also challenged physically. There's rock climbing here. There's an altitude of like 6,000 feet. There's the climbing out of bed early in the morning to go on some hike that you agreed to do enthusiastically the day before. And last but not least, there's the incline. And by incline, I mean the 4 flights of stairs that you race up in between sessions to go get your jacket because the sub-zero temperatures of the classroom are crippling. Got the joke in. All right. And then I have also been transformed by what I have learned here. One thing that God particularly let dwell on my heart was the concept that when we accept Christ, we are given, he tells us that we are given the ministry of reconciliation. And I want to read that real quick from my old-fashioned Bible. That is very real. It says, therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. I think a lot of us can relate to that, and that in the time that we've been here, we've become someone new. The experiences and the information that we've learned here have changed us, changed us, not chained us, set us free. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come. All this is from God, who through Christ reconciled us to himself and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. All of us in here, I'm pretty sure, are, if you're like me, looking for meaning in our life, purpose, and direction. And this is one of the things that God has given us to do on this earth, a ministry of reconciliation. That is, in Christ, God was reconciling the world to himself, not counting their trespasses against them, and entrusting to us the message of reconciliation. Therefore, we are ambassadors for Christ, God making his appeal through us. We implore you on behalf of Christ, be reconciled to God. For his sake, he made him who knew no sin. For our sake, he made him to be sin who knew no sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. And so this is something that I want to take back with me and make the heart of everything I do in work, in family relationships, wherever I am. I want it to be my goal to create spaces, to have conversations with people, and to help spread reconciliation, to reconcile people back to their Creator. And on my final note, I just want to say, I think it's wonderful that God has gathered each of us to this place for this period of 2 weeks to learn these things. And that was by his design. It didn't just happen. He brought us here together. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. How are you guys tonight? All right. I'm great. Thank you for asking. Good evening. It's great to be here tonight. Welcome to all the families that are here. And to my mom who is watching on the live stream. It's her birthday today, so can we hear it for her? Anyway. All right. Happy birthday, Mom. Anyway, my name's Sam Mooney. I'm 21 years old. I'm from Mississippi. And I am a student here at Summit, obviously, where I've had an amazing 2 weeks. And when I was asked to say a few words tonight, I was honored. It really meant a lot to me. But I'm also got nervous because I'm just not that good at public speaking. So I'm going to read most of this speech, and I apologize in advance. Anyway, it's an honor to be here, and I'm excited to share with you about how much this week has meant to me. So for a little background on myself, I'm a rising senior at the University of Mississippi, better known as Ole Miss, hotty toddy. None of y'all are from Mississippi, so y'all don't know what that means, but anyway. Every year in college, I've worked really hard and been really dedicated to school. I've also worked really hard on my job as a musician. And this past spring semester, I began to feel a little bit of burnout in life. I felt apathetic about a lot of things and just felt a need for a spiritual recharge. And so I began to pray, and I prayed that God would provide an opportunity for me to recharge, and I prayed that I could go somewhere new and to make some non-work related memories in my last summer of college before entering the real world. And I continued to pray, and I didn't know it at the time, but that whole time, I think I was praying for Summit Ministries. After a couple months of praying, my younger sister, Lizzie, who is also here tonight, hello, Lizzie. A lot of y'all know Lizzie. She came to visit me at school, and she told me that she was signing up for Summit. And when you're an older brother of an 18-year-old gal, it's kind of your life and goal not to embarrass her. And so I was scared that I would embarrass her, but I was like, Lizzie, is it okay if I come to Summit? I really think it's something I want to do. And so she was awesome, and she was like, yeah, you should do it. And anyway, so when I got off the bus in Manitou Springs 2 weeks ago, I didn't really know what to expect. But I was greeted with 2 weeks of incredible teaching, worldview training, and fellowship. That's just my story. And one of the things that makes Summit so cool is that everyone here has a story. We all got here from a different place. And some of us came here strong in our faith, hoping to learn more. Others of us came here feeling tired and discouraged and with hoping for answers for difficult questions. And regardless of where we came from, we were all blessed with 2 incredible weeks of Christian community and teaching. Whether it was hearing Jeff Myers teach us about the many different worldviews, Scott Klusendorf talking about bioethics and relativism, or Mike Adams telling us his crazy stories of fighting injustice and doing his Napoleon Dynamite impression. These 2 weeks have been a tremendous blessing for me, and I'm sure for all of you. Beyond this incredible teaching, Summit gave us the opportunity to experience God's creation in one of the world's most beautiful places. Whether it was whitewater rafting, walking through Garden of the Gods, or hiking up Red Mountain, breathing desperately for air because I live 300 feet above sea level, we've been able to enjoy the majesty of God's creation in so many different ways. I'm so thankful for every moment of this trip, for all the people I've met, and the way that God has used these 2 weeks in Summit in my life and in the lives of all of you. There's so many wonderful people in this room, and I'd love to close by saying a prayer for our class. So, if you will, please join me in prayer. God, we praise you for this day. We praise you that you've given us all the gift of life and that you've brought us all safely to this building today. Thank you for an amazing 2 weeks here at Summit. We praise you for this ministry and for all the people who make it possible. As we leave here, we pray that you'll go with us and that you'll guide us as we move forward in life. We pray that you would cement the truths that we've learned in our hearts so that we'll live like Jesus every day and be a witness to the people you put in our path. Mold us and make us more like you every day. We thank you for our Savior Jesus and for your amazing love for us. We pray that you'll watch over us as we leave from here and that you will help us bring light to the world. Thank you for all your amazing blessings, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Sam. Thank you, Jenny. That was awesome. I'm sure, like Sam was saying, everybody here has a story, and I'm sure we could pass this mic around, and everybody could jump in and like, oh, this was what meant the most to me, or I had this awesome interaction, or this is so cool. I almost won this volleyball game, and we really should have, but unfortunately, some of you guys have pretty early plane flights in the morning, so I don't think we have time to do all of that. But there is at least one other person in this building who has some parting words that I think all of you would really like to hear. So, would you please join me in welcoming back our president, Dr. Jeff Myers.
Wow, y'all clean up nice. Just so fun to be here at graduation, but it's hard to believe. It went so fast, didn't it? But I'm so proud of you for making the most of it. Of all the Summit classes we've had, you really just made the most of every aspect of it. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Jenny, for the talks that you gave. And thank you, Justin, for the introduction. There are so many people who worked together to make this event possible. And I'm always afraid to name everybody because I think I'm not going to name everybody. I'll leave somebody out. But it has just been really a remarkable team, starting with our founder, Dr. David Noble, who's now retired and lives in Arizona. But what he laid as a foundation for this place was extraordinary and enabled us to develop a good financial foundation to be able to move forward. We have donors who have made it possible. Who got something by the way of scholarship to be able to come here? Okay, yeah, I mean, lots of people were able to come here because somebody stepped in and said, yeah, I'll help you. I'll get your airplane ticket, or I'll help pay for this, or whatever it is. So many people made that possible. And it's the donors who have made possible the renovation of this hotel building, which, in fact, I just had lunch today with the guy whose company put the insulation in this building. And he became a donor to Summit. It was just amazing. Just by seeing what was going on here when there were no students here, he caught a vision for it. And it was so great to be able to meet him. But all the windows and now the heating and air conditioning systems and all of that stuff in place, it's probably, I don't remember, $2.5 or $3 million into the project so far. There's still more we'd like to do, but that's all possible because there are people who give sacrificially, and I'm really grateful for them. I'm really grateful for the team that helped put this event together. Scott Northway is the Vice President of Programs, standing right back here, and it's his team that organizes and recruits students and gets everybody here, develops partnerships with different ministries so that Summit can continue to grow. This year we will have about 1,800, maybe more students. It's possible we will have a record. We had a record number last year. It's possible we'll have a record number again this year with the number of students attending Summit. But our short-term goal is to move from 1,800 to 3,000 students, and not by putting 8 bunk beds in every room. We would start new campuses around the country. We already have one in Tennessee, we've got one in California. Looks like we'll be able to have some other locations as well. But the point is, we really need each of you to step up as leaders in the culture for a time such as this. And if 1,800 students can make a difference, 3,000 we think could make even more of a difference, and then 5,000. And then there's even a curriculum team here of people who take the Summit course and then put it into Christian schools and into churches. This fall, there will be 38,000 people who will be going through an Understanding the Times or Summit course of some kind every single day during the school year. So even though there are 1,800 students who come to this experience, but 38,000 who go through this in their schools or their homeschool co-ops. So God is doing some amazing things, and I'm really grateful for them. We have an incredible staff of people. Kellen and Molly have done an amazing job putting this together. Dustin directs the summer programs, and then Molly is the coordinator and manager, and then Amanda puts together all of the speakers. We have 65 different instructors who come in and out of here every summer. So you can just imagine the logistical task of this. And each time I see these people, they've got smiles on their faces because they know what they're doing here is really making a difference. And then the summer staff. You like them? Yeah. It's been an amazing group. The kitchen, are these the best meals you've ever had at a camp? Our goal is to ruin you for camp food for the rest of your life. This will be the standard of comparison. This is good food, but it's not Summit, is what we expect you to say pretty much for the rest of your life. But you would be amazed at the people who came here to help you in that area. Some of them had never cooked ramen noodles before, and a few days later, they're making some of the best meals we have ever had. It's part of a great team that comes together. Sherry Honkin takes the leadership in that, and Nate and Nicole are the managers of the kitchen, and they have a huge team, which includes Abby, Carlin, Maddie, Tim, Kate, Nathan, Hannah, Kylie, Ross, Christy, Timothy, and then, of course, the dish pit. They clean up after us. That's Josh and Pierce and Will and Jonathan. And then domestics, the people who literally clean up after us in the toilets and everything. Julie, Abba, Grace. Maintenance, Andy is here to help with the full-time maintenance team, and they do such a great job. I don't know if you know this, but it's not just one building that is Summit. There are 40 buildings here that house speakers, staff, all kinds of things going on, and they just do a tremendous job taking care of all of that. Night Watch. You might not have met them unless you were in trouble. But it's Paul, Ben, Tori, and Kaylee that have done such a great job. I sometimes pause and tell a story because Night Watch is just so cool to my son, who's now 14, that when he was a little kid, his favorite memory of Summit was being invited to come along on Night Watch. And he stayed up during the night. He loved it so well. And when he was done, he came back in the morning, and he just walked in so mature looking. And I asked him, how was it? He said, it was good. I said, well, what was good about it? He said, we protected the people. I said, really? What did you protect them from? Without hesitation, he looked at me and said, hippies and bears. So that's it. And that little bear this summer, he is everywhere. He hasn't come in the building as far as I know, but I know he will try. He has in previous years, or his big brother. But the front desk staff is Isaac, Emily, Hannah, Meredith. In the classroom, you know these guys, Justin, Jason, Nathaniel, Caleb, Britta, and Hannah. And then we have interns who they're filming right now, but they've also been doing other things. We had a Summit forum for hundreds of people on one of the afternoons when you were out at sports time, we took over the classroom and did this Summit Forum. Hundreds of people have been able to see that so far. So they're just doing an amazing job. And right now it's Christian, Hannah, Mallory, and Lauren. And then in the medical area, helping to keep us well and bandage us up, because there are a lot of bandages right now. Yes, yeah. But the staff looks more banged up than usual. So at least, Justin, you're out of your sling now, so that's good. Yeah. Thank the Lord for healing. Josiah and Bethany did that, and then Rick is in the bookstore. I've already mentioned Molly and Kellen, and Brooke has just joined us as well to be part of the leadership team. So we're very grateful for all of these people. And I got to tell you, I've worked here for almost 6 years now. And I've never failed to be impressed with what this staff is able to do. They serve meals in the kitchen, and they bring out such great food, but their reason for doing it is not to impress you with good food. Do you know why they make those meals? Here's their mission. We want to serve the students food that shows them that we love them. In the night watch, They make their rounds every hour around the campus, and every hour they stop out at a place called Prayer Point, which overlooks downtown, and they pray for you. While you're sleeping, there are people lifting you up in prayer every night while you're at Summit. The whole team has this kind of dedication and this attitude, and it is amazing to be able to work with them. So I'm so grateful for every person who's here helping. Well, I wanted to give you 3 stories in a few words in closing, if that's all right. It's just kind of a graduation challenge. And I know I want to say thank you. I noticed in the back and down in the lobby, there are lots of parents and grandparents and brothers and sisters who are here. I love that. Some of you are probably wondering, why do they make such a big deal out of graduation? It's just 12 days. Like, this is a bigger graduation than high school graduation was. And I hope to explain why that's the case as I tell you just these 3 stories and give you 3 final points, 3 things I'd really like to send you out with by way of a charge. The first one is, don't go alone. Don't go alone. I've talked with so many of you, and I know my heart hurts because you said, look, at home, I am all alone. And I hope that whatever else happens, that you'll be able to look around and say, at least there are 188 people who are not going to bow the knee. They may be not here in person, but they are here with me in spirit. I want you to know that. And it's important because we live differently when we know there's an audience, right? We do better when we know there are people who are challenging us and holding us accountable. I learned that in a weird way last summer. Throughout the winter, I live here all year. So throughout the winter, I run, usually through Garden of the Gods, and it's empty. The whole park is empty. I have it to myself. Just a few deer, me, and one little bear that runs around in there, and that's it. So in the springtime, it always gets on my nerves a little bit when people start coming into my park. I have to get used to the fact that there are cars now in there and there are tourists there. And last summer, I ran into the park one day, in the beginning of summer. I ran up to Balanced Rock, started coming down the other side on my regular route, and there was a barrier across the road and a police car. They were blocking off my park. So I went up to the police car and I said, I assume it's okay for runners to go on through. He said, yes, just don't get in the way of the racers. I didn't think anything more of it. I just kept on going down the road. I came up over a rise, and as I did, I saw 500 runners coming toward me. Fortunately, they were on the other side of orange cones placed right down the middle of the road. So I was on this side, they were all on that side. As they ran by, I glanced over, and every one of them was looking at me like this. And I thought, what did I do? What is wrong with me. This is my park. And I couldn't figure out why everybody was staring at me. And then it occurred to me that in their race, they ran on one side of the road, on one side of the orange cones, down to a turnaround point, and then came back the direction that I was going. I was winning. It was so great. What a feeling that was. I didn't even know I was in a race, and I was winning it. So here's the funny part. Once I realized I was winning, I started running faster. And I thought, why am I doing this? I don't even know who these people are. I don't know where I didn't even know there was a race. I don't even know where the finish line is. But I started running faster. I realized later it's because when you know you're on, right? You know there are people watching you, it changes your perspective. You do better. I was going to say who, but the book of Hebrews has a passage in it about this. And in Hebrews chapter 12, it says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us run with perseverance the race that is marked out for us, for the author and finisher of our faith, Jesus Christ." I just love that passage because I can imagine who would be in that great cloud of witnesses, because Scripture tells us in Hebrews chapter 11, it's the heroes of the faith. And honestly, most of those heroes of the faith were knuckleheads. I mean, let's be honest. There's a murderer in there. There's a prostitute in there. There are all kinds of people in there who in their race of life, they bit it big time. But in faith in God, they got back up and they kept on going. And now they're in the stands cheering. I just love that thought. So don't try to go alone. The second thing I would say to you, and just by way of closing, is remember that growth is a day-by-day process. I talked about this a little bit last night, but it's worth remembering again. That God doesn't end suffering and display his victory all in one moment. It's a day-by-day pursuit. My little brother Tim is an orchestra conductor. He conducts operas at the New York Metropolitan Opera, the Washington National Opera, the Chicago Lyric Opera, the Santa Fe Summer Opera. I mean, he's in his world, he's very well known and very well respected. And he had a mentor in this. His mentor's name is Lorne Mizell. And I don't know if we have, that's not my brother, that's Lorne Mizell. Lorne Mizell was one of the most famous, he passed away a couple of years ago, but he was one of the most famous conductors of all time. Lorne Mizell was a child prodigy. He conducted his first orchestra when he was 8 years of age. By age 13, he had conducted most of the world's major orchestras. He became the conductor of the New York Philharmonic, but he conducted from memory more than 5,000 different pieces. If you ever see him conduct, you see there's not a score in front of him. He has the piece memorized. Crazy. Of all of the instruments, he's got the whole thing memorized. He speaks 7 languages fluently. He's an extraordinary guy to be a mentor in that world. So Tim worked with him and for him and helped him. And in fact, Tim was the second to him. As Maestro Mizell got older, there's always a chance that he would fall ill while he's conducting. And Tim was always there, prepared, knowing the score if he had to step in at the last moment. So they're in the green room together at the New York Philharmonic during the intermission. And Tim asks a question, right? Just like we talked about. You find wise people, you ask them questions. His question was this: Maestro Mizell, what is the secret to being a great conductor? Maestro Mizell said, the secret to being a great conductor is so simple, most people will never do it. And it's this: you be the very best conductor you can be today. And then tomorrow, you find one area in which you can improve. And then on day 3, you find one area where you can improve from day 2. And on day 4, you find one area where you can improve from day 3. And you do that for your whole life. And you will be a great conductor. And then, in the pause, as Tim absorbed the simplistic brilliance of this advice, Maestro Mazel said, oh, and Tim, one more thing. Today is day 1. I thought, that pulls it all together. Because we somehow know that life is a composite of all of the little decisions we make every day. But it's so easy to say, life is a composite of all the little decisions I make starting tomorrow. No, it's the decisions we make starting today. Today is day 1. And the third thing I would say to you is run all the way to the finish line. John Stephen Akhwari, I only have a very faded picture of him that I was able to find. He ran in the Mexico City Olympics in 1968. You can see from looking at him that he's bandaged. He came from the country of Tanzania. Most people have never even heard of the country of Tanzania. They were certainly not expected to be competitive in the Olympics, but they wanted to represent their country with pride. So John Stephen Akhwari came to run in the marathon. And at the beginning of the marathon, unfortunately, he was pushed down. He was injured to the point where the race official said, okay, just drop out of the race. This is not worth trying to continue. He said, no, bandage me up. I'm going to continue. And he limped his way to the finish line. When he entered the stadium for his final lap, the race had already been over for an hour. But he just didn't give up. In fact, you can see behind him, there are very few people left in the stands. The day is over. But those who were there saw what was going on. This is the last man in the marathon. He refused to give up. They began to cheer. You can imagine why, right? When you go to a sporting event, the people on the field, it's like we live vicariously through them, don't we? Their victories are our victories. Their defeats are our defeats. And I think every person in the stands, probably any person who would be in the stands at any place in any time in history, would have the same feeling. There have been times where I was injured, where I got pushed down, and I wished I had gotten back up and continued to run for the finish line. I'm cheering for this guy. When he fell across the line into the arms of his coach, the place erupted. One of the radio commentators said, just judging by the enthusiasm of the crowd, you could have sworn that John Stephen Akhwari had just won the gold medal. Oh, the reporters gathered around him. One of the questions they threw to him was this: why did you do it? Why did you do it? You were injured. It's not a dishonor to drop out. And he looked at them confused and just said very simply, I don't think you understand. My country did not send me here to Mexico City to start the race. My country sent me here to finish the race. And that is what I did. In that tiny little impoverished country, John Stephen Akhwari is a hero to this day. Not because he won the race, he came in dead last, but because he refused to give up when all the odds were against him. Have you ever wished you could be like that? When all the odds are against you, when you failed yourself, when you realize, I have not lived up to the expectations that I had, to fall down and to be able to get back up and continue to run to the finish line. I think that's what the author of Hebrews is getting at and saying, wow, we have this great cloud of witnesses. We set aside every sin and the weight that so easily entangles us, and we run for the author and finisher of our faith, Jesus Christ. So our team looks at you and says, okay, you're a little bit younger than us. Statistically, we're going to pass before you do. I know that, does that sound morbid? It shouldn't sound morbid. Everybody dies. Have you noticed this? Statistically, 1 out of every 1 person dies. But we are going to be in the stands in that great cloud of witnesses when you come around the bend for your final lap. And you will hear cheering from Noah and Moses and David and Scott and Jeff and all the rest of us will be there yelling our heads off for you as you come across the finish line and you're embraced by your Savior and he says, well done, good and faithful servant, enter into my joy. And on that day, it will have been worth all of it. Thank you so much for being here in these last 2 weeks. It has been an honor and a privilege to be able to be with you. And now to send you out to be the kind of leaders we so need in our nation and our world at this time. Thank you and God bless you.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Jeff. Well, gang, we have to switch some things over to get ready to hand you all your diplomas. So we are going to take a quick 5-minute stand-up break one more time. All right. Be ready to go. Yeah, we need all of you to actually be in these exact seats. It's very important that we get this order right. So when you come back from the break, return to your seats. Rock and roll, everybody. We'll see you soon.
had the great fortune to sit in a vibrating massage chair. I have never stood on a vibrating massage stage before. All right. As the first students come down, I want to give you guys just a quick word of instruction. And the first students can start making their way down here. What we're going to do, I know that for every student, there'll be people who are going to want to cheer, there are people who are going to want to shout for you. But if we did that, it would kind of take a very long time, or someone's name might be missed while other people are cheering. So what we're going to do is after each name is called, we're going to clap once. It's fairly straightforward, but I think we should practice a little bit. You guys ready to practice? All right. John Doe, Jane Doe, Cookie Doe, Play-Doh. Here we go. Our first graduate, Summit, Colorado, 2017, Session 3, is Bella Ban. Dawson Zyblot. Katie Erb. Jason Keeney. Emily Klusendorf. Ethan Graves. Caroline Bradley. Jake Guy. Aubrey Hillary. Clancy Armstrong. Bridget Rain. Emily McDonald. Jack Davis. Penny Heipel. Andy Song with excellence. Sienna Chernyavsky. Joshua Mulholland. Heather Lopez. Joseph Sharp. Kaya Connolly. Joshua Lambert. Cami Carpenter. JP Monahan. Danielle Shower. Tyler Young with excellence. Susanna Green. AJ Randall. Rebecca Kaiser. Colton Petit. Alexis Cannon. Parker Brummett with excellence. Macy Gaddy. Jacob Crowley. Dawson Weiss. Shelby Dorman. Cole Reynolds with excellence. Kara Han with excellence. Adam Posey. Grace Weiland. Garrison Shaw. Ariana Mason. Jackson Hinckley. Amelia Dixon. James Ochterlony. Matt Vietz. Kiana Peters with excellence. Jonah Day. Molly Rose Ham. John Marchetti. Natalia Grinder. Timothy Slaybaugh. Gershom Epp. Taylor Nagel. Alex Boyer. Allie Lowe. John Martin. Andrea Holt. Heidi Smith. Seth Showalter with excellence. Elsie Sexton. Zach Case. Carissa Flores with excellence. Jacob Steele. Bella Packus. Rob Miller. Harriet Hull. Cameron Allen. Scott Tillman. Chloe Cairns. John Sharp with excellence. Elizabeth Schmidt. We good, friends? Josh Sprinkle. Katie Martin. Matthew McDonald. Ellie Long. Martin Lilly. There you go, bud. Azrael Allen with excellence. Luke Downey. Kate Biscoff. Samuel Chu. Avery Anderson. Go Tigers. Tucker Behrens. Melody McDonald with excellence. Christian Kasperger. Hayden Fowler. Tay Porter. Aaliyah McGrath with excellence. Nick Walker. Hannah Zyblat, Jack Inns, Hannah Hunt, Matt Mader, Ariana Anderson, Sam Mooney, Kaylee Gaines, Michael McDonald, Morgan Dunlap, Logan Melhoff, Biz Inns, John Oliver with excellence, Will Adams, Emily Fritz, Jonathan Lamb, Julia Omet with excellence, Derek Stillwell, Emily Pilgrim Hodge, Brendan Hamilton, Natasha Chernievsky, Josh Hodges, Hannah Owens, Sawyer Weeks, Elora Solomon, Cameron Landerville, Chloe Perrick, Noah DePuma, Sam Oliver, Karina Lambert, Hunter Croft, Hannah McCroy, Stephen Bailey, Danielle Anderson, Chance Blair, Rebecca Miller, James Kim, Reagan Lee, Samantha Ward, Lewis Caldwell, Olivia Fritz, Jesse DeJager, Leah Omet, Jonathan Hammond, Charity Booz, Colin Madalena, Olivia Hogan, Tommy Dawson, Emma Swanson with excellence, Jake Johnson, Edith Lichty, Brian Barker, Sasha Willis, Aaron Aish, Anna Cheng, Dawson Ayers, Clayton Taylor, Kate Grady, Dalton Wurgis, Michaela Burke, Matt Keeney, Jerusha Lamb, Johnny Burton, Erin Brush, Reagan Scott, Emily Axelson, Charlie Hillary, Lindsay Lester, Jacob Philly Phillips, Olivia Bruce, Orrin Edwards, Kaylee Smith, Jacob Kane, Lizzie Mooney, Joel Soderling Pinto, Emma Jenkins, Matthew Gates, Autumn Levan, Isaac Winnis with excellence, Mariah Newmayer, Seth Rasmussen, Brooke Hanel, Jacob C., Allie Watkins, Caleb Thompson with excellence, Jenna Willenbring, Emma DePuma, Susan Regmi, Ryan Smith, Andrea Dowd, Jenny Sorensen, Patrick Dudgeon, Annalise Dijkstra, Matthew Gali, Sarah Wood, Tate Powell, Faith Coaster. And at this point, I'd like to turn things over to our video interns who have prepared something really fantastic for you guys.
Hello everyone. So it is that time of the evening where we, kind of reflect on the 2 weeks that you've been here. But before we do that, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the video and my idea kind of behind it, and give some insight and encouragement as you guys go home. So I tried to make it a really, really unique video. Like all Summit sessions are unique, and Summit in itself is a very unique experience, unlike any other that I've had. And so in trying to follow the idea that Summit's unique, I made it very different, but very powerful in a way. I wanted you guys to get a couple things out of it watching it, you know. One, that while you guys are going home, your journey in, you know, the body of Christ and an environment like this doesn't have to stop. You just have to find, you know, the people that will help you grow, like we try to help you grow here. And another thing, you know, going home, people are gonna ask, like, where were you? What is Summit? What did you just do for 2 weeks? And it's kind of a hard thing to explain, you know, like, well, we sit in the classroom for a long time and listen to speakers, but we also get to do a bunch of fun things. So it's like, it's a really cool experience, and they're gonna be like, that just sounds like school during the summer. So this video is kind of for you guys to like show, you know, your friends that ask or like don't know what Summit is, to show them, hey, this is what I just experienced. And I tried to really capture the emotion and the feeling that Summit gives you while you're here, but also for going home, for you guys to look back and not think, you know, wow, that was really fun, but like, wow, that was really special, and it impacted me in a big way. So without further ado, the video should come up in a second, but I hope you guys enjoy.
So why would I come back to Summit? I think the first thing is that Summit is unlike any other place I've been.
I just love the atmosphere of Summit.
It creates such a unique environment for students to process through these really hard questions that they have at home.
Looking back at how impactful Summit was in my own life, I really wanted to be able to invest in a lot of the students that come here.
Summit kind of felt like an oasis of restoration and rejuvenation, and it recharged me to go back home. And part of the reason was because the staff loved me so well. And so the idea that I could get to come and be a part of that for someone else, that's why I came back.
Personally, I came because I kind of feel like I've been like straying from my faith a little bit, just getting caught up in like the world and going off to college and school and everything.
I was so ready to come, but my brothers made tremendous friendships that there's still people that they keep in touch with, and so I was really excited to have that same opportunity to get to know people, and I'm super extroverted, so that's something that I really enjoy.
I was, first of all, very excited to meet some people my age that believe the same stuff as me, because that was kind of tough for me in high school, finding a group of people that walked the same path as I did and lived out the same things that I did. And also I knew what I believed, but I didn't always know why I believed it, or I couldn't defend it very well.
I wanted to get kind of regrounded in my faith, I guess, and just kind of like figure out where I should start.
I think Summit is a place that really tailors towards people who want to know why and who want to really know the truth and know that there's truth in Christianity, even though the world is saying that there isn't.
You can listen to lectures from people on the internet all you want. I do that all the time, but it's another thing to be able to look at a person and say, I think this, what do you think on that, and have a real conversation.
I have a great small group, first of all, and the conversations that have come out of small group have been so encouraging, because you know that people are struggling with the same things you are.
I think what sticks out to me the most is being able to have godly debates with excited people.
This is a great way to solidify what you've learned.
And gather around and form a group that is more determined to get in God's Word and grow closer to Him.
I can probably speak for most people when I say I think it's really easy to make connections with people here and find a group of people that you're comfortable with and enjoy hanging out with.
So I think sports time is definitely a really big thing around here, and what's cool is that it's okay if you're not very good at volleyball, or if you're not very good at whatever sport you're playing.
Being able to get up and move around after sitting in the classroom for so many hours is very refreshing. And not only that, but you meet so many new people when you're mingling with everybody.
It really helps you to get into a comfortable environment in which you're just kind of making friends.
I feel like that fellowship, that community is so important, and it's part of what makes Summit special, because you have the time in the classroom to get information, but you also have the time to fellowship and get to know one another.
For me, and most where I feel most charged is with interaction with people. I found that it's a great mix of things where you can get a little bit of like alone time, but also the fellowship with other Christians that are your age. One of the biggest lessons that I've learned is be willing to listen, be willing to ask questions, and don't feel like you always have to be the one on the defense.
I would say Summit is taking Christianity seriously, but I think most of all, it's expanding your faith.
Summit teaches young people how to think for themselves and actually defend what we know.
Now, like, I both know what I believe and I can describe what I believe.
Summit is just, for me, the best place to come to really feel secure and feel like there's a reason for Christianity, and that it's, regardless of what anybody says, that it's the truth. And it's really like comforting, and it gives me confidence.
That was pretty cool, huh? We like it? Fans? Good, good. Well, gang, if there's one thing you've learned about me during this 2 weeks, it's that I like to chat at you, and I'm kind of greedy with this microphone. And I will remain so for the next 5 minutes. But instead of chatting at you alone up here, I was wondering if I could get our summer staff team to join me. So we're going to be filing up a lot of faces, and we're going to crowd a lot of people onto this little stage. And as you're looking around, you know, maybe there's a couple people you're like, I have never seen them before. And there's probably one person that you're still not entirely convinced actually works here. I'm not pointing. But hopefully a lot of these people, they look familiar to you. That was the first person to greet you at the airport, or the fourth person to ask where you were from. You played cards together out in the lobby. They were on your team in that volleyball game that you should have won. You've had good conversations with them. You've shared meals. And there's one person in particular who jumps out, right? Because you've spent a lot of time with them over this last couple weeks. You've shared stories. You've gotten into deep topics. You've goofed off and had good laughs. I am, of course, talking about your small group leader. You guys have gotten a lot of charges this evening. This last one is from us. So, what do we want to say to you? Well, first of all, we hope that you guys have found some answers while you've been here. We also hope that you have some new questions. More than either of those things, though, we hope that you're beginning to grow and learn more and more what it means to question well. See, because here's the deal. Summit was never intended to be a sit and soak experience, full stop. It's not just about accumulating information. Summit was intended to be, and will always be intended, as an invitation, as an offering for you to come and step into this incredible story that God is weaving through human history, his redemptive process. It's an invitation, it's an encouragement, it's an adventure. And the reason that we do this is so you can maybe come to see that just a little bit better while you're here. But we can't do everything for you. We wouldn't want to. So now the ball's in your court. We've tried to give you resources. We've tried to help prep you as best as we can. But now, it's up to you guys. So, we want to encourage you. Question. One thing, though, that we hope that you never question is the reality that you were deeply, deeply loved in this place. A couple of weeks ago, and this isn't true of all of you because we have like 26 returners or something, which is awesome. We were so stoked to see your guys' names pop up again and be like, oh man, yes. But for a lot of you, 2 weeks ago, this hotel didn't know you as anything more than a name on a binder. And yet, even back then, these guys, they were down on their knees before God in this classroom, praying over each and every one of you, asking that God would come and meet you in this place, asking that you would have that breakthrough, that you would have that connection, that you would develop that friendship that would mean so much moving forward. In the days since then, they have gotten up early to cook your meals. They've handed out probably 1 billion cough drops. Try to keep you asleep at night and awake during the day. They've cleaned your dishes and their toilets separately. Fixed your broken stuff and chatted. And guys, the whole thing, it has just been such a pleasure, such a joy. We love it. We love you. And we would do it all again in a heartbeat. So we just want to say thank you so much. I want to welcome you. Now, whether you like it or not, you are officially members of the Summit family. Congrats. Just know as that you leave here, that we are praying for you, that we are cheering you on, and we just can't wait to see what you guys are going to do. So, from all of us, thanks, gang. Go now with God, and welcome to the Summit family.
Hi guys, my name is Abba. I'm stepping in for Mallory Smith. She is an intern here working for the Summit Alumni Network, and she sadly could not join us tonight, so I'm taking her place. I'm here to talk about the staff auction and the Summit Alumni Network. To all the parents here at the hotel and watching online, I want to share with you some of the amazing things your students have done this past 2 weeks. Not only did they sit in lectures, but they also did some fun activities. But mostly when they saw a need, they came together as a session to step in and meet that need. And I'm specifically talking about the staff auction. Every session we have something called the staff auction. That is a really fun night where staff members auction off different activities for the students to purchase. And all of the money goes to the Summit Alumni Network. The activities include going to lunch with our favorite speaker, Mike Adams, at Chick-fil-A. We throw water balloons at the dish pit, and then you stay up all night with the night watch, and I'm sorry if that's why your child is cranky on the way home tomorrow. The staff auction is a lot more than just having fun with your friends, though. All the money raised from the auction goes directly to the Summit Alumni Fund, and it gives scholarships to fund and empower students to come to Summit who otherwise would not have the chance. So would you guys like to know how much money we made? Yeah. All right, then I'm going to need a little bit of a drum roll, please. We made $2,451. Guys, that is absolutely amazing, and I know the students coming this next summer are going to super appreciate it. If you take a look at the back, see the puzzle piece back there, session 3. It shows our total, and there's a total of 7 sessions here in Colorado, and think about the amount of money we're going to make to send these students to Summit. So that specific money is going to, we are going to find churches in economically challenged areas and tell them that we want to make it possible for some of their students to come to Summit to be equipped and trained. This is a super amazing opportunity because those students go back to their community, share the information that they learned here, and all this awesome information spreads like wildfire. So guys, thank you so much for donating to the Summit Alumni Fund. It does not go unnoticed. So now that you guys have your diplomas, I want to welcome you to the Summit Alumni Network and go do great things for Christ. Thank you.
Hello. So I don't know if you guys have noticed like the door in the back of the classroom that points like to this extra room that you probably didn't find until like the 5th day. But that's the bookstore. And every $10 you guys spent in the bookstore, you guys hopefully got a little yellow slip of paper that you wrote your name on it. Both we were just trying to collect your personal information that we already had. It's kind of pointless. I don't even know. But we were also trying to find out who could go to the back at the end of tonight, or actually probably like right after this, and they get to just look around and choose 5 books, and they're theirs. So we're about to draw a name, and that person, I'm going to make sure that we actually have that person here. So like if it's you, do the whole Price is Right celebration thing, because like we want to know. It's true. So without further ado, we're going to find out who it is. Drum roll, please. You guys are really good at the drum rolls. Scott Tillman. Congratulations, Scott. Yeah, I know. The bookstore will be open starting now until around 9:30. So if those last-minute purchases you guys want to get, go do it now. Scott, go join us in the back, and we will hook you up with 5 free books.
Are you guys tired of me yet? Oh, shucks. You're making me feel good. All right. So, final announcements. The actual final announcements. Oh, man. Tears. Well, gang, you may have met some cool people here. And I know in this day and age, you're like, I already have all that contact info, buddy. But just in case you do not, we have all of the emails and everything printed out at the front desk. There are sheets that you can pick up for every one of the students in the session. So if you're looking for emails, good ways of staying in touch with everybody, you can stop by the front desk. Also, if you have stored anything in our safe during this 2 weeks, you need to pick that up as well. So don't leave anything behind that you thought was valuable enough to keep in a safe. Next up, I wanted to let you guys know, our rules still apply tonight. Rules still apply. And I know you might be thinking, like, what could they possibly be doing to me now? It's the last night, like I am safe. I have made guys scrub out the dish pit at 3 a.m. on graduation night before. So more likely we'll just take you to the airport. But yeah, so rules still apply. Next up, room check winners. You guys probably want your pizza. You can pick that up at the front desk at 9:30. Next up, we have, did we not announce the absolute like final room? You guys are looking at me confused. Stay tuned on that. We will find you. All right. Next up, shuttles leave from the lobby tomorrow morning. So leave from the lobby tomorrow morning. There are notes on your guys' doors that have all the info for you to make sure, like, get your rooms cleaned out and everything. But just whatever shuttle you're on, make sure you're down in the lobby with all your stuff at that time. Next up, super, super important. If your vehicle is parked, if you drove over here and your vehicle is parked over at the school, you guys are going to pick those up immediately after this. So get your keys, go meet at the front desk. Ben is going to drive you guys over to pick up your cars. That's right after this. Next up, we have an ice cream social in the dining hall. So that is also right after. So if you do not need to pick up your car, and if you're not going to pick up 5 free books from the bookstore, then you could head up to the dining hall for some ice cream. Next up, so back in the day, I don't know if you guys have been informed of this already, but this was actually like a ballroom once upon a time. And, we just like to go back to our roots every once in a while. So if you're interested in dancing, 9:15 back in here. And then also, no lights out tonight. But you need to be in your rooms by midnight. So if you did not buy Night Watch, you need to be in your rooms by midnight. But you can hang out with your roommates and everything. And so if somebody's got a super early shuttle or something, be sensitive to that. Be sensitive to their needs. But no lights out. Be in your rooms by midnight. Unless you bought Night Watch, in which case you guys can meet down in the lobby at 11:45. So if you bought Night Watch, 11:45. And on that note, everyone, I believe that is all. So, congratulations, you did it. Great job.